Hey, what's up, everybody?
And welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 396. I'm your host, Kendall.
I'm Josh.
And we are joined by our production team, Janelle and Ian. What's up, guys?
Hi.
How you doing?
Wow, love that energy.
Hi.
Ian's barely awake over there.
I'm sorry. It's my eyes.
Ian's eyes bothering him.
Well, at least Ian said something.
I said hi.
Did you?
In my mind, I did.
Okay.
Mostly because I was too lazy to pick up the microphone.
Wow. You are on a podcast that is required.
Hello, everybody. It is I and Ian. Welcome back. We are
Hello,
excited to
hello.
be here on another beautiful day. It's a beautiful June day.
Ooh, that's the kind of energy
The sun
that
is
I
shining.
want.
It's 95 outside. And we're here to cover a crazy case.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have a lot to go over. Also, I have to give a quick shout out to our editor, Tom, who I didn't mention him last week. I never give him credit in the production team. He is part of the production team.
And he put a note. He's like,
yeah, he sent
just-
us a little sad
yeah.
video of himself. It's Tom always sends funny edits to our office group chat. And so I promised him, Tom, we love you. You are one of the best editors ever. And good news, guys. When we're in our new studio, Tom's going to be joining us on the episodes. So that's going to be really, really cool when we have space, because we're still in this tiny little room, but not for long.
Yeah,
Couple more
I know.
weeks,
I think
hopefully.
we're all starting to just feel the effects of being in this space.
Yeah, Josh had a crash out today because he dropped his...
I literally broke my Surface right before this episode. It fell off this little TV tray I'm recording on and happened to hit this skinny little bar at the bottom of it and crack the entire screen to where it doesn't work anymore.
you had a dad
Oh,
crash out.
yeah.
And like, you know, when your dad's crashing out and you're a kid and you're just looking at him like, I'm scared. That was me. I was sitting over here like,
No,
what do I do?
I hope he doesn't see me.
He was like, God damn it. I was
If
like,
I wasn't
"Ah."
at work right now, it would have been way worse.
Josh always goes, fuck me, fuck us.
So
Yeah, and then I
dramatic.
dropped my whole cup of coffee this morning. all
Oh,
of-
yeah, that was a moment. He was real upset right before we had to leave. I'm telling you, you got to get on Lexapro because nothing bothers me anymore. I can drop anything and I barely have a reaction. It's excellent.
Maybe I need to look into that because I'm on edge. Everything's on edge with me.
I know.
all the time.
I know.
Mhm.
You got to take, or you got to like meditate more.
Yeah,
Mhm.
with the zero time that I have.
Well, hey,
My
I get it.
meditation's my sleep now, and I'm lucky to get that.
I know. Sorry, this is so random, but we were in the car yesterday and Holly, our daughter never stops talking. It's actually insane. And she was talking about how nice it is to have alone time in the mornings because she wakes up at 6 and she has to stay in her room till 7. She's like, oh, I love my alone time. And then Josh was like, well, Daddy would love some alone time and quiet times. Maybe we just don't talk for a little bit. And she goes, no, Daddy, you can have alone time when you sleep.
That's all I get.
Well, yeah, and we're barely getting sleep these days with the baby at home. So yeah, lots of stress. But
But we are excited to get into our new studio, and
Yes.
I
We're almost
I
there.
hate the fact that we took a downgrade to this spot here, which we knew was temporary, but
Mhm.
we're quickly working to get our new studios together,
which
They're
is a
gonna be-
major upgrade from the
Yes,
last.
it is so much better than before. So we're excited to unveil that hopefully here soon in the coming weeks. And I'll be excited to get out of this rocking chair. As
Oh, you
comfortable
love the
as it
rocking
is.
chair. You always be rocking.
I know, but I don't want to be rocking in the podcast. All right. I miss my beautiful desk and sturdy table
Yeah, that would be
to
nice.
put expensive electronics on. But anyways, Kendall and I watched the crash, and it's been on the radar. Obviously we're Netflix subscribers, and so we see all the new true crime documentaries come up. And this one, I knew nothing about this case. I had only briefly remembered Kendall covering it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think you covered a year after it happened, right?
No, I covered it right after the trial
Okay.
ended. But there was not nearly as much information out. And a lot of that information has come from this documentary, The Crash, which has just blown my mind. I have so many thoughts. I figured we have to cover it again with all this new information. And just after seeing more of Mackenzie and her parents, we've got lots to say on that. And it's an opportunity to learn more about the two victims in this case, who were wonderful young men And it's just beyond sick and tragic.
I was
What happened?
legitimately pissed off watching it.
Yeah, I was fuming, dude.
And I think, I think documentaries obviously, are walking a fine line, right? Because they're developing these projects for Netflix, and there's a lot of sort of corporate oversight and executives that have to approve these documentaries that go on Netflix. But I think oftentimes, when these documentaries are coming together and families of victims especially are involved in the process of it, is oftentimes they're not privy to sort of what the final edits are, sort of what the, what's the sort of angle that we're going to take with it. And I think, I kind of walked away with it. I think for the most part, it was, pretty decent, but I think it maybe gave a little bit too much to Mackenzie.
I agree fully.
And her parents too. And I'm like, why the hell do we even need to hear from them? Because they're probably the most upsetting part of this whole thing is just the lack of responsibility taken by her parents. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about it, but I was actually pissed off. I was yelling at the TV during. I'm like, how?
We kept having to rewind because we just couldn't believe the things that they were saying. I mean, on the other hand, I'm glad that there was so much of her parents because it really showed their true colors to the world.
Yeah, they exposed
are
themselves
just
for
terrible.
sure. For sure, they exposed themselves, and it's a very, very tragic and horrible thing that happened, and despite the outcomes and the justice that has been served, I think there's still a lot left to be desired, at least from, the victim side of things of like, was justice truly served? And, there's a lot of issues now that Mackenzie's in prison and what she's allowed to do and profiting off of these projects and sort of this screen time that she's been given on one of the largest streaming platforms in the world.
Yeah, it was her first interview.
And it was her first interview, of course. They had that exclusivity with her in this. And so...
Which she didn't profit off of this documentary, did she? Unless I missed that. I don't think she can.
No, not yet. But that's the point, is that when she gets released, that's what the families are worried about, is that this will then lead to further brand deals.
Oh, yeah.
And then also...
in the future.
Yeah, in the future. And then, in case their parents, like if her parents profit off of it, they can still send Mackenzie the money that could happen.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that because the parents are in it, they're also... can profit off of it in some way. And the other thing too, and just from like a pure viewer standpoint, I would be interested to see how many eyes have seen this documentary at this point.
Oh, it's got to be.
And
huge. I mean, it was huge.
People are sending Mackenzie money.
Yeah. Yep.
There's people that are sick people out there that find these fascination with these killers or attempt to like start some type of romantic relationship with them or communication with them and are supplying, trying to make her experience better when she should be experiencing exactly the opposite, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's another important thing to really talk about in this episode is she actually has, I don't know the exact numbers, but they went over this in the documentary, just how many, content creators on TikTok and YouTube have been supportive of her and just random people that have, justice pages for her and free Mackenzie pages and just how hurtful, beyond words that is to her family. It's such a slap in the face. So there's just a lot of things that we wanted to discuss beyond the actual details of the case, but the aftermath for the victims' families.
Yeah, and of course, like with any documentaries, there's definitely some gaps in sort of the information and level of details that they give. And so we're going to try to fill some of those gaps. And, just out of our own personal curiosity as well as like, I watched it and I'm like, yeah, I get a good general idea of like what happened here. But there's definitely a lot more to Dominic and Mackenzie's relationship and how tumultuous and toxic that was, and also threats happening there and prior dangerous encounters that happened. So I think getting a kind of deeper understanding of underneath the surface with the two of them and sort of the events leading up to it also sort of help give maybe a clearer picture of how we ended up where we are. But
There's also some updates that have come out, including body cam footage, which we won't be showing, but we will be talking about it. But some, updates about Mackenzie that have come out since the documentary. So we're going to be going over all of that today, everything that is out as of June 17th. Ready to dive in?
Let's go.
Okay. So for so many people out there, the double murder case that has put Makcenzie Shirilla behind bars to serve a life sentence, fingers crossed on that, comes as really one of the most shocking stories in recent years. It is truly unbelievable. And just to give you a little brief overview, if you actually haven't heard of this case, during the early morning hours, Mackenzie slammed her vehicle into the side of a building, speeding at 100 miles per hour. The crash immediately killed her two passengers, Mackenzie's 20-year-old boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, 19-year-old Davion Flanagan. And while the case garnered a ton of media attention, including my episode and that new Netflix documentary, which is titled The Crash, that has been released,
amongst a bunch of other documentaries and TV shows and
just tons. But the crash has really brought the case back into the spotlight, and there's tons of conversation and online discourse about it. And like I said, alongside this new body cam footage and Mackenzie's first public appearance since she received her sentence, which has been very controversial.
And I just wanted to add too a little bit more detail to sort of the overview in case you haven't heard this before. Is there was this accident? Mackenzie was driving a vehicle that crashed into the building at a high rate of speed. So what the other side, or Mackenzie's side, is sort of arguing is that she had some sort of medical emergency, or she has a condition called POTS, and that essentially what happened was she maybe blacked out, had some sort of medical thing happen, and she had no intent of crashing into the building, but that's just what happened because of this unknown event that occurred in the vehicle. But from her side, she's saying there was no intent for me to kill almost everybody in the car. And so that's
other than herself,
right?
Yeah. And she really does try to drill that home in her interview.
And trying to create sort of this mystery of like, this is just, we're not sure why this accident happened, but this is sort of just a freak accident that occurred. And, there's really nothing more to it. There is no malicious intent behind it, which obviously is just their side of things. And the evidence will probably quickly sway you otherwise, because it becomes very, very clear as we get into it that really is not the case.
Yeah, in our opinions and in the opinion of the judge.
Well, I mean, she was convicted, so you can say.
Right. Anyway, so let's talk about Strongville, Ohio. Okay, so it's a small city and suburb of Cleveland with a population of 46,491 people. It's nicknamed the Crossroads of the Nation, and Strongville has remained an important junction for both railroad travel and now interstate highway travel. The demographics reflect a comfortable middle-class American lifestyle, with only 2.2% of the city living below the poverty line. For many in Strongville, high school football sat at the center of the community, with, of course, Friday night games serving as a central gathering point for not just students, but also alumni and residents. So it's a big part of the community. And just by looking at the list of notable people from Strongville, you'll notice a stream of football players. Now, Mackenzie was born in August of 2004. She lived her entire life in Strongville, and her childhood is described as middle class, with her parents, Natalie and Steven, lots of thoughts on them, raising her alongside her older sister, Danielle. And while it's unclear what Natalie did for work or whether she even had a profession, Steven worked as an art and digital media teacher, most recently at the Mary Queen of Peace Catholic School in Cleveland. However, you could describe their parenting style in many different ways. You could say relaxed, to say the least. I have some other choice words for
negligible.
Just absolute dog shit. That was what I would say. But they stated that Mackenzie didn't need to be disciplined a lot. That's always a good choice for parents. But reports from classmates at Strongville High School definitely suggest otherwise. Divine Flanagan, who is Davion's little sister, said Mackenzie felt that she was better than everyone else. And I obviously have never met Mackenzie, but from the footage I've seen of her, it certainly does seem that way. And that people would physically avoid her in the hallway because she bullied others. On numerous occasions, Mackenzie told people to kill themselves. There's literally video clips of it. A lot of it is now owned and copyrighted by Netflix, but the footage of her that she had posted herself is so shocking. And I can't imagine as a parent just either not knowing your child is doing it or even worse, knowing and not caring. And she not only disrespected other students, but also teachers. One written statement provided that Mackenzie once called someone at the school a fucking bitch and a dumb bitch. In fact, law enforcement had numerous reports detailing disciplinary actions against Mackenzie dating back to middle school.
Which says a lot. And I mean, we're talking about the most formidable years of your childhood and really where parenting is extremely critical to the development of your child. And if your child is getting away with, all of these disciplinary infractions and not being held accountable or guided in the right direction of like, hey, this is not how you become a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if she gave this comparison to herself or somebody else did, but she's very much the Regina George of Mean Girls. But
I don't think she said that.
But like
I think it was someone else. Yeah.
Okay, someone else may have made that comparison, but she's that times, a million maybe. Like she's far, far worse than Regina George. But that was just something that I came across and I was like, oh, that's it's just the way that you sort of carry yourself through school and like all the attention's on me and, everybody else get the fuck out of my way and have no respect for authority.
Yeah.
That seemed like that started very early on.
But her parents said there was no need for disciplinary action when it came to Mackenzie.
I've lived without it for a very long time, I can't lie. I had horrible sleep for most of my life. I can't even deny it.
That's a shame.
I know.
Shame. And I'm proud of you for getting as far as you did.
It took some time. I have a proper bedtime routine now.
And you have a proper mattress thanks to Casper.
I have a real mattress now because before I kind of it's just whatever was given to me. I never had a nice mattress, but I've had it for about a month now, and I can honestly say no BS. It is the best sleep I've gotten in my life. I'm out.
You heard it. He's sleeping like a baby now thanks to Casper. This episode is sponsored by Casper, and yes, they make reliable, high-quality mattresses designed to deliver consistent and comfortable sleep every night for all types of sleepers, whether you're a back sleeper, side sleeper, stomach sleeper.
You see, that's the thing is I'm a side sleeper. My girlfriend, she's a back sleeper. She calls it the straight line. But it's comfy for both of us. We're both out immediately when we lay down.
So you heard it from Ian. If you're looking for a new mattress, maybe you've been sleeping on the hand-me-down, or you just have had the same mattress since you were a child. I mean, some of us out there are still sleeping on our childhood mattress. Maybe it's time to take a look at Casper, because if you're in the market for a new mattress right now or an upgrade, head to Casper.com and you can get 30% off the mattress that you deserve. I mean, what a deal. They're built to be durable, long-lasting, and that way you're not replacing your mattress every few years. So Ian's set for maybe life. We'll see.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, the way I deal things, yeah, it'll be life. But I don't mind it.
Yeah. And what's great is that, some people are skeptical about buying a mattress online because you're like, well, what if I don't like it? What if I don't sleep well on it? I picked the wrong one, because obviously there's different firmness and softness and, foam and all that. Well, with Casper, they give you a 100-night risk-free trial so you can truly sleep on it for 100 nights and truly decide if it's the right mattress for you.
Well, and I was honestly really impressed by their sleep quiz that they ask you because I am very particular. I like it kind of rock hard firm. But they got me right. Just off the one quiz, they're like, all right, this is the one you want.
Wow, that's actually really good.
I was, yeah, no shit.
So you heard it from Ian. The quiz is easy. It's simple. It ships straight to your door. You don't have to go to a store. You don't have to wait for, a delivery day. It just shows up at your door. It's in a nice, convenient box. It's all rolled up. You take it to the room. You cut the roll open. You let that thing fluff up.
That was the most fun part. My girlfriend and I were just watching it
as it expands. So right now, save up to 30% on mattresses and up to 35% on everything else when you go to Casper.com. Yeah, they have pillows too. Really nice pillows. One last time, that's CASPER.com and save up to 30% on a mattress you deserve.
On February 9th, 2018, Strongville police responded to a disturbance at Center Middle School involving Mackenzie and another student. Law enforcement reported that both exchanged words, shoved each other, and threw punches while walking to the buses after class. Officers told the families that the school would handle disciplinary actions internally and recommended that they avoid contact with one another.
I mean, to get the cops called on you in middle school,
Yeah, it's fucking
it's not a good
wild.
way to start there. And then during Mackenzie's freshman year at Strongville in October 2018, police investigated a school bullying and menacing complaint involving Mackenzie. A student said that Mackenzie called her a bitch, threatened to beat her up, and encouraged her friends to surround and intimidate the student at her locker. The student also said the bullying occurred online, though we only know it involved a photo posted to Instagram, and it's unclear exactly what Mackenzie did, but it seems like there's a pattern there forming. Like, it's happening in person, it's happening online, and it's just continuing because there's no accountability there. Then in May 2019, a police incident reported that Mackenzie was accused of shoplifting, which, surprise, surprise, no, not at all. From Kohl's, some $20 earrings, and Kohl's ended up not pressing charges, considering, it's a $20 pair of earrings. But still, how did her parents deal with all of these bullying infractions and bad behavior and online cyberbullying? Well, Stephen recalled once when Mackenzie was suspended on the last day of school, he went to pick her up. And when he kind of talks about this in the documentary, it almost seems like I was majorly inconvenienced by this. But he goes and picks her up and finds her crying in the front office, and he asks her, "Did you do it?" And Mackenzie simply said, "No." And then Stephen said that he could see it in her eyes that she wasn't lying, and that was it. It was like, all right, well, I guess you're getting the last day of school off. Let's go, honey. So it's just like the parents, which is just interesting because her dad is a teacher, and it's like, how are you an educator and a teacher for a living and not taking the school and the administration coming to you about your own kid being like, hey, this is what she's doing. We've suspended her. So maybe you should do something. It just doesn't compute. I don't get it.
We were talking about this a little bit before. I really think that that's kind of, I don't know, a shame that he is a teacher and can't even handle any sort of disciplinary action at home. Like, I can only imagine what the classroom is like.
Yeah, what's his class like?
Right.
Everybody just gets away with everything. I don't know. But other parents have said that Mackenzie did not have a lot of adult oversight. So other kids' parents, anybody associated with her, are also noticing that Mackenzie just does whatever the hell she wants. And her parents offered excuses for her behavior. They even said that Mackenzie was often given more freedom as a result of these issues rather than discipline. Shit, this is like parenting 101.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going on there. And, it's hard to really even infer on that. But it's like, this is just like the golden baby. And, she's like she knows how to manipulate them and just like, oh, daddy, I didn't do anything. And then,
yeah, she can do no wrong. Yeah.
She's like puts on that sort of innocent look for them. I don't know what it is.
Just such a disservice to your child. And it pisses me off that they haven't had any accountability, to the degree that I would want from all of this.
Yeah. Well, others presented a different side of Mackenzie. Her close friend, Faith Walsh, met Mackenzie in middle school, and the two quickly became friends. They lived pretty close together in the neighborhood, and Faith said that Mackenzie was like a sister to me. Faith said that Mackenzie was fun. She was loving, an amazing friend. She said that Mackenzie defended her when she got bullied in high school and was very loyal to her. However, starting in her freshman year, Mackenzie began dating her first boyfriend, Dominic Russo. And from then on, the two became a package deal, always going everywhere together. And while on the outside, it seemed like they had this loving and healthy relationship that was pretty serious. It's headed towards marriage eventually. For Dom, the relationship had grown toxic, unhealthy, and even dangerous. Now let's talk about Dominic Russo and forget about Mackenzie here for a second. But Dominic was born on September 24th, 2001. He's raised by his parents, Frank and Christine. The Russo family was quite large, with Dom having 6 siblings that were listed on his obituary. However, as his sister Christine described, they were still incredibly close-knit, and Dom was always present for every single family event. He was very involved no matter what was going on in his life. Dom and Mackenzie first got together in her freshman year, and this was quite notable for Faith and Mackenzie because he was an older student at the time, about 3 years older than Mackenzie, and seemed to be rather serious about the relationship from the jump. Faith said that while most relationships in high school could be described as flings, I mean, as all of us were in high school at one time, it's kind of just how it is, this one seemed different. And while from the outside, friends of both of them would continue to describe them as the perfect couple, in reality, not so much. There's a lot of issues kind of going on there, and a lot of issues that a lot of people observed over time. This even happened within the first year of their relationship. So as much as it seemed like, they had a lot of good moments and a lot of good times, that was kind of, split with a lot of not so good times. According to text messages between the two, Mackenzie threatened on numerous occasions that she wanted to, this is a quote, fucking KMS and, quote, I'm going to kill someone. She also texted Dominic, treat the girl who would die for you a little better, which I think speaks to her toxicity. It speaks to the fact that she's verbally abusive, that you should never talk to anybody in a relationship like this. But also she's manipulating him. Even with him being an older guy, she's, starting to work him every way that she can. On top of that, in a 2022 text, Dom said that Mackenzie had hit him and even tried to throw a rock at him. Despite numerous incidents between the two and constant breakup attempts, they remained together. And to Mackenzie's family, everything seemed perfectly normal. They believed that Mackenzie and Dom would get married and considered Dominic as part of their own family.
So after Dom graduated high school, he moved into his own place in Strongville, and he had actually made a substantial amount of money selling stocks and investing in cryptocurrency. And he had plans to open his own LLC. He wanted to start a clothing line and even release music as a producer. And Dom's father, Frank, believed that he was going to make it, and he knew that his son was going to be successful. And after her graduation, Mackenzie and Dom grew even closer, and her parents granted her consent to move into the townhouse. And this was at age
17.
Perfect. Another example of great parenting here. And again, from the outside, things looked normal, I guess you could say it, and happy. Dom showered Mackenzie in gifts, including designer clothes and accessories. And it was around this time that Mackenzie really took being an influencer seriously. She posted online constantly, including numerous videos and images of herself smoking weed, many of these being while she was driving. In fact, authorities were able to compile over 136 items in a folder of Mackenzie driving while on some kind of substance, and posted a TikTok with the caption, "I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of drugs and not die." Awesome. And you have to wonder, I don't know if we have the answer on this, but were her parents monitoring her social media at all?
Yes.
They were?
They were following her.
Okay.
I don't know about every
Holy
account
shit.
or Snapchat necessarily, but I know that they were following her. At least her mom was.
I mean, any good parent should be monitoring what their kids are doing, not just following them, but have access to their
I don't know
passwords and
about
stuff.
access, but I mean, the ability to see her posts, yeah.
And just be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. She's driving while she's high.
She's committing crimes.
Telling kids
She's
to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Insane. And of course, Mackenzie's father in the documentary, he's so casual about the way he describes all of their parenting choices and their opinions on stuff, which is really shocking after what has happened. I couldn't believe how just unhinged they seem and how proud of their parenting style. They really double down on it all. But he said in the doc that he had no problem with, quote, dope, saying that it was a lot better than a lot of the other drugs she could be doing, which yes, of course, marijuana is better than most
depending
drugs.
on who you ask, I think a lot of people would argue that's not better than anything, especially at that age. And
well, it's the age thing.
You know what I mean? But yes, medically, maybe you could argue that, but to say that when you know your kid is driving under the influence, is just reckless.
Yeah.
And the guy was a teacher.
I mean, she still is a young, developing mind. And at the rate that she was consuming and, publicly sharing it, I can't believe he doubled down on that after the fact in this documentary publicly. It was shocking to me. But of course, as for her smoking and driving or posting herself getting high dozens of times, he did not provide a comment, conveniently. It was also through social media that Mackenzie and Dom established their core friend group throughout high school. Mackenzie and Rosie Graham first became friends by commenting on each other's social media. And even though they both went to the same high school, that's how they actually had connected. Rosie commented that Mackenzie often came to school wearing a purse instead of a book bag, and she thought it was so cute. Love that. Don't have any books.
I know. We were like, how is she hauling books around?
I'm so confused.
I wonder how big it was. Because remember, I don't know if your high school did this, but people in my high school would like have a big like tote.
Well,
instead
did
of a
you see?
backpack.
No, in the documentary, they showed a
you're
picture of her
right.
in the bathroom with this tiny little
It's
like
basically
but, like,
it was like a baby bag.
But was that just a picture
I'm like,
she took?
but maybe she like brought her little purse around in her bag.
Or maybe
I know
she
a
was
lot
like
of girls
hitting the
in my school
locker
did
and
that.
carry stuff. Really? At your school?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess your
yeah,
school,
in my school.
At my school, everyone had. I had like the biggest backpack, and I would try to fit as much shit as I could, like at least half the day's worth. So I'd only have to do like one locker stop.
Which is crazy because my high school was so big and our passing periods were so short that you didn't even have time to go to locker. I never used my locker once.
So
Like,
what
no
were
one used their
people
lockers.
doing with their little purses?
They would like run around with their like totes, and then they'd have like little purses too.
and they just happened to fit all their shit in there. I
I
could
don't
have
know, bro.
never.
What did you have?
I had a backpack, and then I also had a tote thingy at one point.
Okay.
Remember, like, but I don't know. There were some people that like didn't even carry books at all. It didn't seem as though she cared much about academics, and so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe that's really all she had.
We were talking beforehand as well. Half of her high school experience would have been during COVID
Right.
as well. So I think that is kind of important that most of her time at school was spent online.
Yeah.
God, if we didn't have our books for class, that was a big no at my school. We'd like been in trouble.
Yeah, I'm sure she was in trouble, but I don't think she'd get like.
Yeah, she probably just
I don't
didn't
think
give a damn.
like they'd probably be like, okay, you're getting. I don't even know what you do, written up or whatever. Send to the deans, and she probably just didn't show.
Lovely.
And then her parents didn't
Yeah,
use
and
it.
then they're like, we're calling your parents, and she's like, bet. And then her dad's like, well, she's not smoking. I was about to say dope. She is smoking dope. At least she's not doing heroin, though. That's basically what he would say. This is fucking idiot.
Totally. So Rosie also had 200,000 followers on TikTok. And since Mackenzie wanted to be an influencer more than anything, the two began hanging out and posting photo shoots to social media. Along with Rosie came her boyfriend, Bubba, who played for the Strongville football team. And Bubba said this was the best friend group that he ever had and that they constantly hung out together. Bubba described Dom as Master Yoda and said that he was a sweet and loving dude. And in addition, they also hung out with Bubba's best friend and fellow Strongville football player, Davion Flanagan. Now, Davion's upbringing was totally different compared to that of his friends and classmates of Strongville High School. He was born on March 11th, 2003, and he actually grew up in the foster system with his two younger sisters, Divine Isabella and Delia Rose. And according to Divine, Davion had been there for them from the very start and has acted as the protector of his siblings. In 2012, he and his siblings were adopted by Scott and Jamie Flanagan, who seemed like wonderful parents. And it was here that Davion really came into his own. His family described him as a very kind-hearted young man with an infectious smile. Couldn't agree more. Wonderful smile. He just looked like such a happy guy. And Davion was faithful and loyal to his friends and family. He was known for his sense of humor and making people laugh constantly. According to his family, Davion was also committed to his religion and was baptized in 2018 alongside other family members. However, most of Davion's high school career was defined by being a member of Strongville's high school football team. It was here that he became best friends with Bubba and rose to be a core player of the team. I mean, he was super, super talented, it sounds like. And by senior year, he was named the starting running back, which is obviously a huge deal for any young player, and he was looking to continue his passion for football into college. However, horribly, after only 4 games into his senior year, Davion tore both his ACL and his UCL. Just terrible injury. And he was told at that point that his future in football was effectively over and that he would have to find a new path in life.
As a former high school athlete, and I played varsity basketball, but my brother, he played varsity football and he tore his ACL too. And, when you're especially in high school and, trying to remember back to that time period of, as a student athlete, there's always this sort of like dream of going on beyond high school and go play college. And, you're really, you got to be on it. You're focused, you're locked in. And when a devastating injury like this happens after you've dedicated all this time, this years of practice, and it is just absolutely devastating in multiple ways. You're dealing with this horrible injury, but now realizing that your chances of following through with this plan on hopefully getting a football scholarship and playing at the next level are, now out the window. I mean, I can't imagine mentally how difficult that was for Davion to sort of navigate, because, he was very excited for that. And then once that's just, boom, taken away from you, I mean, it can send you, kind of spiraling in a lot of different directions. And, so he has to kind of go to plan B after plan A is, potentially go play college football.
And to have that happen so quickly.
Yeah, like 4 games in the season is really rough.
Yeah.
And so, he was very passionate about becoming a barber, and he wanted to go to barber school after graduation, which is also a very awesome career choice. I love my barber. And so, he had dreams of one day opening his own shop, which a lot of barbers aspire to. But still, with his football career over, Davion had a lot more idle time on his hands. I mean, when you're playing varsity sports, your time is limited. You don't have time really to party. And if you do party, you got to be careful, because at least at my school, and I know in other schools here in Colorado, they'll drug test the varsity athletes. And
you also got to keep your grades up.
Got to keep your grades up. They want you locked in order to play. And so now with that sort of constraint, gone, I mean, it definitely gave him more time to just kind of relax a little bit. And, the other thing that I was thinking of too is when you play varsity sports, like you live with these guys and you really become close because you're just spending so much time with practices and games. And so once you have an injury like this and you're just, you're not going to play anymore, it can also be hard on those friendships and relationships. So you kind of also feel like on the outside of the team
totally.
Now that you're not contributing, you're just kind of like there. And so, maybe some of his friendships with some of these other athletes started to dwindle a little bit. And so, he started kind of looking outside of other athletes in the team for friendships. And so this is when he began hanging out with Mackenzie's group much more often. And of course, with Mackenzie came, introduction to, drugs, specifically weed and psychedelic mushrooms. Davion's family, of course, disapproved of these activities, and Davion made her opinion on Mackenzie known to him. She told him that she thought Mackenzie was a quote-unquote mean girl who bullied people and acted like she was better than everyone else. However, Davion's parents had stronger words for his new friend group. His father, Scott, said that while Davion might have felt like he was just going through this selfish teen phase, it was much more serious than that. He told Davion, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future, Davion." Still, despite how much Davion and Mackenzie hung out with their larger friend group, she described him as Dom's friend, even when he came to live with them for a week or two during the summer after graduation. And while Mackenzie had again been projecting this perfect sort of, domestic life they got going on between her and Dom, in reality, their relationship was only growing more and more toxic. One friend described an instant during the summer when they were at a carnival. And it's just like one example of a million. But when they were about to get on a ride, Dom received a phone call, and it sounds like this may have been business related or something. And Mackenzie told him to get on now. So get on the ride right now. But he said he couldn't because he's got to take this call. And in response to saying no to her, Mackenzie physically kicked him away from the rest of the group. She then told the group that she was going to break up with him. And afterwards, the two continued arguing, and Mackenzie told Dom, "Either buy me something or shut the fuck up."
That's what pisses me off so much about, well, so many things piss me off about her, but about this situation specifically is that she wants him to get off of a business call, and yet she is all about him buying her stuff constantly, but like doesn't want him to work when it's inconvenient for her. So immature.
Immature. I mean, it's just she has no concept of anything, and so
abusive.
She
Either
just
buy
wants
me
what she
something or
wants.
shut the fuck up.
yeah.
God.
And, this is just the beginning because the messages only grew more explosive as the relationship ran its course. In one instance, Mackenzie became irate because Dom said he couldn't pick her up. And after 5 minutes, she texted, "I'm so fucking mad," before restating, "I'm so mad, I'm going to kill someone. I'm mad as fuck right now." Later in the day, she messaged, "I fucking hate myself. I'm ugly, and you just add on to it and make me feel even uglier." So it's just just toxic through and through. In March of 2020, Dom texted, "Kenzie, I think we should take a break again. It'd be good for both of us," which pushes back on Mackenzie's narrative that they were still madly in love and not planning to break up anytime soon. And Mackenzie responded, "No, no, no." And it's like no spelled normal, then all caps, no, no. 2 months later, when Dom once again asked to go on a break, Mackenzie responded in all caps, "Fuck you, we not on a break."
Yeah, the way that she talks too. She reminds me of like she wants to be bad baby.
It's hard not to draw that comparison.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just this entitled, spoiled brat attitude. And on the morning of August 13, 2021, Mackenzie got mad at Dom for interrupting her and telling a joke she didn't like. Dom texted, "That's my bad, but you did threaten to stab me in the eye." To which Mackenzie responded, "Yeah, I don't care."
Jesus Christ.
Then, in March 2022, Dominic alleged that Mackenzie had hit him and tried to throw a rock at him. He texted, "You didn't let me out of the car and then hit me and pulled the shit out of my hair. Then tried to throw a rock at me and threatened to call the cops on me and key my car." So it's just like one thing after another. Mackenzie said that she only threw the rock at Dom because if you didn't take a video or photo of me freaking out, I would not have thrown the rock or anything. I pulled your hair because you were trying to open my mother's car door and make it hit a fucking stop sign.
Dominic stated that Mackenzie drove like a maniac every day, and a month later said, "I told you to stop the car, and I tried to get out, and you started driving like a maniac. I thought if I opened it, you'd stop the car." And on July 2nd, 2022, Dominic tried to break up with Mackenzie yet again. He wrote, "Kenzie, you said mean things to me. I felt unappreciated and mad." He explained that he didn't think we are going to be able to work this out. Mackenzie responded, "You say mean things to me all the time. You never give me love. You never give me empathy. You never make me feel cared for or loved. You just let me feel alone all day. You make me feel ugly." As a result of this response, the couple once again did not break up. And then on July 17th, a very explosive moment in the relationship took place, and according to some, constituted prior calculation of Mackenzie's murderous intention towards Dominic. The only problem is that we have two completely different versions of this event. So according to Dominic, he had called his mother, Christine, to tell her that Mackenzie was driving very dangerously. He said he was so scared of Mackenzie's driving that he asked his mom to come help. She sent their family friend Christopher, who received a call from Dominic inside the car. And Dominic told Christopher that he was in the car with her and that he didn't want to die. Mackenzie could be heard over the phone saying, "I'll crash this car right now." And that's powerful to hear. However, according to Mackenzie, Dominic was the aggressor in the situation and had tried to grab the steering wheel to drive off the highway. She wrote in a text message to Dominic, "The fact that my boyfriend of 4 years just tried to end my life by steering me off the highway, that's how I know you're not in love and you never were. Somebody who loved me would never do this to me." Dominic denied the allegation, and Mackenzie wrote back, "The only reason it went this far is because you tried to end my life." And Dominic responded, "Kenzie, I didn't." Mackenzie threatened to file a police report, but she never did. Dominic responded to this threat, texting, "If you do, I'm telling your mom you're a prostitute. ... 'cause you are." Then on July 21st, 2022, Mackenzie shouted at Dominic from outside the house when he wouldn't let her in, saying, "So you can be mature, let your girlfriend in the house, have a normal conversation with her that should only take a minute or two, or you could just be done. Dominic said he didn't want to let Mackenzie in the house because she previously threatened to break a bunch of shit if he did. Mackenzie responded, "I'm only going to break shit if you don't let me in." Then, on July 28th, 2022, Mackenzie drove to the obscure and out-of-the-way intersection of Progress Drive and Alameda Drive. And there would be no reason for her to visit this area normally unless she was performing sort of a dry run, you could say, of what was to come. So that's very important to keep in mind. So while I was pregnant, I started visiting a pelvic floor therapist, and I was a little embarrassed to tell her that I hadn't done anything when it comes to my abdominals for, probably like 15 years. I mean, since I was on a dance team in high school, so maybe even longer than 15 years. I'd done a few planks here and there, but I've never really given my abs the proper care that they deserve. And it becomes so important as you get older for your back and everything else. But I had no idea where to start. And the first ab work that I did postpartum on my own absolutely wrecked me, and I could barely get out of bed. And that's why I'm really excited that I discovered the Ladder app. And they are teaching me how to do abs right, making sure I have the right form and making sure that I'm going to get the best results. I love that I'm able to pick a coach that's specifically going to be focusing on the type of workouts that I want and that feels comfortable to me, and then I can message them at any time and ask questions as I go. You get a new plan every week that builds on the last, and the workouts connect. Each week progresses from the one before for structured training blocks. In-ear coaching guides you through every set with cues, form reminders, and motivation. And your progress is tracked automatically. We love that. We love when an app does it for us, right? The app remembers your weights, your reps, your sets, so you can see yourself getting stronger over time. And the best part is it costs less than $1 a day. That's elite level personal training for a fraction of what you would pay in person. Remove the guesswork with Ladder. Get a real coach in your ear telling you exactly what to do for every workout. No thinking, everything planned for you. If you have an iPhone, head to ladder.fit/milehigher to take a quick quiz to find your perfect Ladder plan. Use our link and get a 7-day free trial with no credit card and $10 off your first month if you join.
Summertime is here. It's nice and warm outside here in Colorado. And you know what? I'm firing up the grill every occasion I get. But I'm not firing up the grill for some mundane meat from the grocery store because I'm just tired of buying meats at the grocery store. I'll even go to the meat counter and I'll pay extra for what I think are better cuts of meat, only to find out I have these fillets that are full fat, and by the time I trim them down, it's half the weight and size of the fillets that I got at the market, and it's just a waste of money. And you know what? Ever since ButcherBox has sponsored this show, I've been a huge fan. Absolutely love it. All of their premium proteins are high quality, absolutely delicious. From pork, chicken, bacon, steaks, ribs, you name it. ButcherBox has got it covered for any meat connoisseur out there. And you know, what a great gift for the father in your life, because I'm at least the dads that I know, all the dads I know love to grill up the meats, invite everybody over, invite the family or friends over for a grill out, and you know, you'll have everybody eating good. They also have delicious chicken wings, succulent, juicy chicken wings. You can cook them a million different ways, in the air fryer to the oven, to you could deep fry them, you can throw them on the grill. I love smoked wings, and I was really impressed with the quality of the meats. Everything was tender and juicy when cooked. Absolutely delectable. And ButcherBox makes it simple. You can customize your box depending on what types of proteins you want. Maybe you don't eat pork and you just want beef or chicken. You can customize it however you want. They also have delicious wild-caught seafood. If you like that wild-caught salmon like I do, they got you covered there. You can truly customize ButcherBox. It's stop-start subscription. It's super easy. It shows up right at your door. I haven't had any issues with shipping meats across the country. It always arrives still ice cold. Throw it in the fridge or freezer, and your family's set for weeks. I mean, depending on how much meat you eat. ButcherBox is really an amazing service. I'm a huge fan of it, and I know you will too. And I do have a special offer for you. Not to mention, you know, with 4th of July coming around, you know, get the burgers and dogs out. ButcherBox has you covered there as well. As an exclusive offer, new listeners can get their choice between free ribeye or top sirloins for a year, or ground beef and bacon for a year, plus $20 off when you go to butcherbox.com/milehigher. That's right, your choice of ribeye or top sirloins for a year, or ground beef and bacon. That's a tough choice. For a whole year, plus $20 off your first box, and free shipping always. That's butcherbox.com/milehigher. And don't forget to use our link so they know we sent you. On July 30th, 2022, Mackenzie, Dominic, Davion, and the rest of their friend group were planning to meet up at a graduation party for one of their friends, Paul. And it's unclear if Davion was staying with Dominic and Mackenzie at the time of the party. And Rosie, she was very quick to say that this was not a party, but just a sleepover. Okay. I think those are interchangeable words at this point, at this age. You know, if you're having a sleepover at 17, 18, 20 years old, it's a party too, you know?
Well, and if the goal of the sleepover is to smoke weed and drink alcohol,
And do
potentially do
shrooms.
like, yeah,
it's a party.
that's a party.
She said she had brought a coloring book and colored pencils, and they just were going to watch some YouTube videos, and they ended up watching a shark documentary, it sounded like. But Mackenzie had texted Rosie before the party to ask whether Paul's parents would be in the house, and Rosie had responded no. She then asked if it would be cool to trip on shrooms, and Rosie responded, yeah, before asking if they could buy some off of Dom. So Dom and Mackenzie packed up the shrooms, the marijuana, and a digital scale for the party, or sleepover. Bubba remembered that the group went outside to smoke the bong and have some deep conversations. However, they were wondering about those shrooms. You know, night was quickly getting away from them, and Dominic and Mackenzie hadn't shown up yet. And by the time that they arrived, which was around midnight, they were all like, yeah, start tripping shrooms at midnight. Probably not the best of ideas. I've done that before and not the funnest time. But the majority of the group, you know, they just went on smoking weed and hanging out. And Mackenzie, however, and this is very important, did not smoke weed that night because she had actually been on a tolerance break because she was hacking her lungs up, in fact, coughing up blood and black mucus, according to her. The group then went to sleep around 3 a.m. and Rosie remembered Dominic cuddling up with Mackenzie and petting her hair. So just kind of, you know, getting cozy. The group wanted to get some decent sleep because they had plans together the next day. Just before then, at around 2:53 a.m., Dominic texted his dad saying, I love you, Dad. Bubba and Davion were back awake at around 5 a.m., and Davion had planned to come home with him the next morning to work on Bubba's truck, but decided he was just going to grab a ride with Dominic and Mackenzie as they were heading home in a few minutes. And he wanted to take a shower and then rest for a second, catch up on some sleep before they started on the work on the truck. Bubba remembered that Davion told him that he loved him before they headed out. And Bubba really, this kind of stuck with him because he remembered that it was sort of strange. And it had been a while since Davion had expressed this to him. And he thought that Davion had said it almost out of nowhere. At around 5:30 a.m., Mackenzie began driving her black 2018 Toyota Camry. And in the front passenger seat was Dominic with Davion behind him in the rear passenger seat. And it's important to note that Davion and Dominic were not wearing their seatbelts in the vehicle. That's at least what I had seen in reporting, that neither of them had been wearing their seatbelts. But at 5:33 a.m., the car turned southbound onto Pearl Road, and 1 minute later, Mackenzie made another turn onto Progress Drive. And two things are important here. One, in the footage from the intersection, Mackenzie is driving the car calmly and responsibly from what it looks like, following the speed limit, keeping her vehicle within the lines. The other thing that is important to note is that this was not the route that Mackenzie took to get there, meaning she was taking them out of the way of the most obvious and sort of quickest route to take this obscure back road. And at this point, on the stretch of Progress Drive, Mackenzie began accelerating her vehicle to nearly 100 miles per hour. And an app records in high speed alert, meaning that Mackenzie ignored that to keep the acceleration floored. This road was not a straightaway. It had some curves to it, some bumps and sections where Mackenzie did have to drive carefully while maintaining this rapid rate of speed. At 5:36 a.m., Mackenzie's vehicle veered right off of Progress Drive, crossed grass, blasted through the Alameda Drive intersection, and then struck a Plidco business sign before crashing into the corner of a building located at 11792 Alameda Drive. While the speedometer froze at 72 miles per hour, the vehicle likely struck the building at a much higher speed. When the car struck the corner of the building, it nearly severed it in half, with the passenger side taking the brunt of the impact, and the building itself had been cracked as a result. And there's some sort of CCTV footage of, sort of the final moments before this vehicle hits the building. And I mean, the car looks like a absolute missile going down this street, where clearly the speed limit is 35, 40 miles per hour at most. And it just blows down this road.
It's really shocking
insane.
to see.
It really blew my mind when I saw it. I was like, this is insanely fast.
Yeah, and look how smoothly she takes this turn. I mean, perfect driving, completely calm before this. Did this footage come out with the documentary, Ian?
No, you had this in your...
Did I?
You did in the video.
I guess it had been so long, I just kind of forgot how shocking it is to see it. So yeah, the crash itself was at 5:36 a.m., but I don't know if no one heard it. I mean, it wasn't a commercial area, or maybe it was kind of the, Janelle and I were talking about this before, sort of a bystander effect where people figured someone else would call, or maybe that just sounded bad, didn't realize like quite exactly what happened. And it wasn't actually on the road.
Yeah, and I mean, the building is like a good ways off of the road, and where the crash actually happened is, it looked like kind of this sort of corner of this building.
Yeah.
And it's early in the morning, the sun's starting to come up, so maybe it's dark, and maybe it just took a little bit more light before people noticed it.
Because it wasn't until, 39 minutes later at 6:15 a.m. that Strongville police received a 911 call reporting the crash. And less than a minute later, officers Zielinski and Galassi arrived on scene, and they observed that Mackenzie was alive, but pinned underneath the collapsed passenger dashboard. She was mumbling, not making any sense, and had sustained severe injuries to her right leg, her right arm, and also her head. However, Davion, who police recognized from the football team, had been killed on impact and thrown forward. And it's really sad watching the body cam footage of
which we'll show
the
you
crash.
Here in a sec.
Yeah. But he was stacked on top of Dominic, who was also tragically killed in the crash. Police could be overheard on the body cam footage declaring that this was the worst crash that they had ever seen. And it's just, the car's like barely recognizable.
No, I mean, the car is completely destroyed. Severed is really the right word. The whole like front half, I mean, it's crumpled like a tin can. But this clip is just a little short minute clip of some body cam footage of paramedics pulling Mackenzie out of the vehicle. So at first, when they arrive on scene, the officers kind of seem to think that all three are deceased, and because they're all at least unconscious, and
it looked so bad.
They noticed that Dom and Davion weren't breathing, and then after kind of looking around a little bit and also breaking the windows, they noticed that Mackenzie was still alive, and then the fact that she was even able to come back to consciousness to some extent to even say what she just said in that clip is wild. I mean, it's insane to me that she even survived the crash.
Although like I said, they described that she was really, really out of it. Also, they did feel a brief pulse on Davion, but he was pronounced dead in the ambulance. And after Mackenzie was removed from the vehicle, she briefly spoke and said the name Jacob before she asked about Davion. Police found a bag of shrooms and a digital scale on her person before she was transported by a life flight helicopter to Metro Health. At the scene, officers collected more evidence, including $165 in cash, 2 iPhones, 10 grams of marijuana, a THC pen, a bong, a Coach purse, a Michael Kors bag, and also a few other assorted items. And meanwhile, after Mackenzie's parents were informed about the crash, they sped over to the hospital while she received surgery for her many injuries. And it was here that they were both informed for the first time that Dominic had been killed in the crash. And they immediately start crying, and they said they didn't want to believe that it was true. At 10:27 a.m., Dominic's father was informed by police that his son had been killed in the crash, and he stated, What a fucking nightmare. And it seems like in that clip, he is just in complete shock, like can't even really wrap his head around it. And then I wanted to talk about this. This is not in the documentary. I happened to scroll across this just on my TikTok For You page, some leaked body cam footage of Dominic's mother, Christine. And I'm so disturbed that this is even publicly available. Her reaction, did you two watch it? I didn't know if Janelle had. I don't think you should, Janelle.
No, it's very clearly like a private moment. And I'm certain, for his father's part, that was in the documentary. So he had to speak to Netflix and like be okay with it being out there. But with Christine, it's not in the documentary. This is just thrown onto the internet.
Yeah, I think it was released around May, like pretty recently. But it is absolutely horrific. And a lot of the comments I was seeing on TikTok are like, why is this public? No one should be seeing this. I mean, she is just in full hysterics, laying on the ground. It's so awful.
It's very distressing and traumatizing. I mean, it's just horrible.
I just don't understand how something like this gets leaked. And then, not to go a little bit more into it, Josh and I were just so disturbed by the way that the police officers delivered the news to her. It was so unprofessional.
Yeah, I had so many questions with that. I mean, I wonder whoever got a hold of the footage. I mean, it is police body cam footage, so somebody must have FOIA'd the footage, or somebody within the department, or somebody involved with that whole incident leaked it. But I was appalled at the way the officers delivered this news. I mean, they take forever.
They like draw it out, and it seems like I don't know.
They take forever to even get to the news that her son is deceased. And then when she does start having, a totally human reaction to hearing the news that her son is just tragically passed, the officers all just stand around and clearly have never been in a situation like that before, or just are incapable of providing help. In my opinion, what I saw was, I was like, she may be in need of medical attention, and the fact that not once did they think to call some medics, or get somebody who's trained medically to come and try to help her physically calm down, because she goes into maybe a full-blown sort of panic attack, or I mean it's horrible. I mean, it's just it's a
and they kept saying things like, it's okay.
Yeah, they don't know all the right things. And then apparently there was somebody from the Catholic Church. There was some father so-and-so was there, which I don't remember seeing, or he
was from, I think, the hospital.
He was like the department, the police chaplain was what he was.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't hear him do anything or say anything.
No, he's just standing there.
They're all just kind of standing
around. They're just like watching
her.
And then what was strange is one of her other sons was there. I'm not sure which one it was, because they also have a brother.
Was it her son, or was it the family friend?
Was that Christopher? I think they might have been saying Christopher, but then he said my brother when they were. He was like, my brother. Was it Angela or was it Dominic? He was asking.
Somebody was sleeping in the house, because they were asking, like, is there anybody we can call? Who do we contact? Who's here?
And that's what you say before you deliver this news to her. Is there anyone who can be with you while we tell you this? She's just alone. And then this person, whether it's a brother or family friend, comes out. He's like just waking up, and he sits down, and they immediately tell him. And it's just the most unprofessional. I was just floored by it.
Yeah, it could have been handled so much differently, and provided some actual support.
Why wouldn't they bring a crisis counselor?
Right.
Yeah, there was none of that. It was just like 3 cops and a father from the department that were like, "Oh yeah, we're sorry," and then, it's okay. And then their attempt to comfort her is like, it's okay. And
that's an insane thing to fucking say.
Right?
They should be fired for that, honestly.
Yeah. It was immediately, too. They literally told her, and she starts reacting. They're like, it's okay.
So like, sit down, have some water.
Oh my God. That's just so horrific.
It was so bad. And I just can't believe it's on fucking TikTok that anyone can watch it. Some true crime channel that I saw.
But how'd they get it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, somebody figured out how to either get it from somebody there, or had access to it, or they put in a Freedom of Information Act request, because it is on police body cam, so you can FOIA that. But to take that moment, then put it online, like that's pretty grimy. I don't know if they were trying to expose the officer. I don't know what the intentions behind doing that were, but
there needs to be some type of process for family members that have been in a situation like that, that footage gets released without their permission, to have that taken down. Like, TikTok should be responsible, or YouTube. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but I mean, there should be some course of action to get such a private, like, worst moment of your life taken off the internet for strangers to gawk at.
Well, it seems like the police need to reevaluate how they do things, and clearly that wasn't the right way to handle it.
No.
And also knowing the fact that it's all going to be recorded on body cam footage. You know, when is there really a need to have that on police body cam footage? A private moment like that, maybe that's when it's time to turn off the camera.
Don't they legally have to have
I
it
think
on
they
now?
have to, yeah.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that, but it's like they're not responding to a call there. They have to record when they're responding to a call for service, and they're there telling a family member that their son is deceased. So I don't know if I would be very interested to see what their department policies are on that. But to me, that seems like an unnecessary moment to film. For what purpose? She's not involved in the, you know, she's not a part of the crime or anything like that. So what's the reason behind filming?
Or I could understand potentially needing to have it during it, but
in case
then
something happens.
removing the footage, deleting the footage afterwards. I mean, that just should not exist. Someone's worst moment ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was really disturbing to see. And this is kind of random too, and this was in the documentary, but the way that they talked to Mackenzie's parents as well, I mean, not knowing at the time her involvement, was weirdly insensitive to me as well. They didn't even seem to really fully know the names. Even when they went to Christine's house, they said the wrong name at one point. And were you able to figure out if that was Christopher or?
No, I wasn't able to figure it out. But
okay, but whoever that was had to correct them on the name.
I also I wonder, just back to the having the footage on, like having the recording on during it. I think a best case scenario would be for the department to watch the footage and be like, you guys, did you completely fuck this up?
Right.
You know, I mean, I could see that as being, but I highly doubt that's what took place, later on. But I think it's just kind of, I agree with you. It's ridiculous that this has a second life now as just being fodder for true crime TikToks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people posting like updates, new footage of Christine Russo reacted.
That's the new thing, though.
It's getting gross
with the true crime world, is that people are
new 911 call, new jail call, like every little thing.
On the hunt to like FOIA this footage so that they can be the first to break it to social media, because they know that it's going to bring views.
That is a good point, though, Ian, that maybe it is good to have the body cam footage on so that the department, in theory, could view it and review how they're reacting to something like that. But I feel like after it's been reviewed and documented, it should be deleted.
Yeah, I feel like policing as much accountability as humanly possible. So I think they should be recorded like at all times. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, those are some good points. Okay. But anyway, family members have also spoken in the wake of the documentary and the other leaked footage, including that, leaked footage of Dominic's mother, Christine, learning about his death. And they believe that this footage was of a private moment and only further sensationalizes the case. And I couldn't agree more. Davion's sister, remembered thinking, this isn't fair. This isn't right. And his father said no one should have to tell their kids or wife that their son or brother had their life taken from them. I couldn't imagine having to deliver that news to your loved one. Bubba said it didn't feel real until he saw the accident scene with his own eyes, and people hounded him with questions since he had been with the group the night before, and he thought they didn't give us a second to process. That evening, police were still investigating whether it had been an accident or a vehicle malfunction. Of course, that's, a rational thought to have. And they noticed that a slipper that Mackenzie was wearing was stuck to the floor against the gas pedal. They also received data from David Proctor, who had Davion's location on Life 360, and this allowed investigators to track the vehicle's route to the crash and search for surveillance footage along the way. David also provided information on Mackenzie's constant drug use, as well as her dozens of social media posts picturing her smoking weed while driving. Mackenzie's blood was taken and shipped to an out-of-state lab to determine whether or not she was under the influence at the time of the crash. And they had to specifically send that to an out-of-state lab because their lab couldn't check for mushrooms.
The standard blood panel that they run in these types of DWI cases are not checking for psilocybin. Yeah. So they were able to check for THC real easily, but to check for the psilocybin, they had to send that out.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, it's not, the reason being it's just not incredibly common that, people are driving under the influence of psychedelics. But
Scary thought.
they obviously wanted to check, right? Because they found it. So they're like trying to piece together, was she high and driving? Was it the weed? Was it the mushrooms? What was it? And so they have to rule that out.
Yeah. So after investigators obtained surveillance footage of the crash, they realized at that point just how horrific this situation truly was. They believed that the vehicle averaged 97.8 miles per hour as it crossed through the intersection. And their first thought was, what a lot of us thought when seeing that, it was just chilling. But again, if Mackenzie was impaired while she was driving, then why would she be able to drive perfectly normal at the intersection before Progress Drive? And even if she was high on marijuana, it wasn't like that was the first time that she had done that. She seemed to be very used to driving while under the influence of THC.
It really seemed like investigators started coming to the conclusion here of like, well, that only kind of leaves us with one option here. If she's not severely impaired from marijuana or, psychedelics, then there's really only one other option here, that maybe she did this deliberately. And so they had to start investigating this as a homicide case. Was there some type of murder plot here? And at first, investigators contacted Davion and Dominic's families once a week to inform them on their progress in the investigation. But of course, they still held most of the evidence that they had close to their chest. However, Mackenzie's behavior during her recovery was very much noticed by the family and investigators alike as being very strange and tasteless. For one, a modeling brand commented on one of Mackenzie's posts offering her an opportunity to work with them, because that's so important right now. And Mackenzie's mother actually was the first person to respond to this message, or this comment rather, thanking them for this amazing opportunity. Like, what? She is just almost died in an accident, and 2 other people died in this accident, and you're worried about her modeling career?
Isn't that just shocking?
That just says so much about her parents.
And about her too. That's what's on your mind. Oh, a great opportunity. And it's just to get PR.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's just going to get some free shit. It's a great opportunity. Ooh, free stuff. Do we even know what brand it was? Probably some like tiny little thing.
It's some bullshit brand. I tried to find screenshots of it, but I wasn't able to find it outside of the Netflix doc.
I think I might have had it in my original episode, so I remember talking about this. But yeah.
Well, it gets even worse because then she goes on to say,
the mother.
Yes, this is just as painful for her as everyone else, maybe even a little more painful.
She needs to learn how to shut the fuck up. What would, oh my God, what would ever make you think that is appropriate or a good idea to say? Even if you were truly selfish enough to feel that way, putting that out there on the internet, what a slap in the face.
I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe this is just her doing a little PR for Mackenzie by sort of trying to,
totally. Like, this
set the narrative out there of like,
she's the victim. More free shit, please. More opportunity. She wants to be an influencer. I think she wanted to like launch her career off of this.
Yeah, or
fucking
sick. or to start garnering support.
Yeah, that too.
For what's to come, possibly.
Well, at that point, they didn't know what was going to come. I feel like they were that delusional.
Really?
I do.
You don't think at any point they're like, what if she...
No, I'm sure they had thoughts of it, but I think overall they're like, she's going to be fine. We're going to make her into a star. She's going to be fine.
That we're going to turn this into a positive.
Well, they certainly wouldn't have been acting the way that they were if they were that scared.
True. Because
this is all going to be held against you, unless they're just idiots, which they are. So I don't know. Who really knows, dude? Over the last couple of years, the last 5 or so years, my body has went through a lot of changes. From having 2 babies, gaining and losing weight, my body is constantly changing, it seems. And that means the clothes that I need to wear need to change. And one service that has been there for me throughout the years, which I have paid for throughout the years because I love it so much, is Stitch Fix. And here's how it works. You take an easy style quiz, you share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. They send you a fixed box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. It saves you time and you look great and feel confident in what you're wearing. It's no risk, all style. Try it all on in the comfort of your home, keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always. No subscription required, plus get a free try-on for your first order. Get started today at stitchfix.com/milehigher to get $20 off your first order. That's stitchfix.com/milehigher.
Well, then Mackenzie responded as well, only she just thanked them for the offer and didn't mention anything about the crash. But then Mackenzie messaged Davion on Instagram saying, Davion was like a brother to me. And Davion never responded because why on earth would she? She said, I didn't feel like I needed to respond to someone who killed my brother. And when investigators received Mackenzie's toxicology results, they were able to determine that she was not driving while impaired. So, of course, with those, possible motives or pieces ruled out here as to why this crash happened, really the only other thing to consider is a vehicle malfunction. And so the investigators did exactly what they should have, and they retained a forensic auto mechanic or investigator to examine the wreckage. They believed that the vehicle's braking, steering, tires, and accelerator were all functioning properly before the crash, and that the car did not have some sort of like manufacturer defect or, freak thing happen with as a result of the vehicle randomly malfunctioning. They also determined that Mackenzie's flip-flop, her slide or whatever that was wedged into the accelerator had become stuck as a result of the crash, and therefore that wasn't the reason that the car quickly accelerated the way that it did, because the floorboard crumpled around it. But the main piece of evidence would be the vehicle's electronic data recorder, known as the car's black box, which you may have heard that, planes have something similar, and it records all the mechanical data from the vehicle over the 5 seconds preceding a crash. And in Mackenzie's EDR, which this is very concrete information, it showed that for the entire 5 seconds leading up to impact, her gas pedal was engaged at 100%, so pedal to the floor, and the brakes were not engaged once. The data also showed that 3 seconds before the crash, the steering wheel turned hard to the right, then hard to the left, and then hard to the right again. It also showed that the car's gear selector was briefly shifted into neutral before it was quickly shifted back to drive. And I think what you can deduce from this is that both of these incidents prove that the boys had potentially tried to save their lives before the car slammed into the side of the building, which is just horrible to think about. It also proved that this was not a result of a vehicle malfunction or impaired driving. And as a result of this forensic auto mechanics findings, and of course the toxicology results, it became very clear that this had been done intentionally. There's really no other options here. And that this was in fact no accident, this was murder. And while investigators gathered information on the status of Dominic and Mackenzie's relationship, she made decisions that sparked endless online conversation and controversy. For one, Dominic's father was on her side at first. There's even a video taken of Mackenzie and his father using a pendulum to speak with Dominic, which is sort of kind of a, bit of a paranormal thing, kind of a way to sort of communicate with somebody who's passed. And in the video, you can see Mackenzie begin crying. And, from this sort of pendulum exercise that they do, they sort of spell out the words, love you. And so it's, kind of insinuating that maybe Dominic communicated that he still loved Mackenzie. But if you know anything about the pendulum thing, I mean, it's not real. I mean, this is clear. It's a human holding a pendulum and clearly manipulating it.
Haley would not like to hear that.
I don't believe in any of those things. I think those things are just there's absolutely zero scientific factual data.
But
And I think there's, if you're gonna go a paranormal route with things, there's plenty of other ways to do that. But
I also think that it was an example of like showing that Dominic's father at first was trying to comfort Mackenzie.
Right.
Yes, like manipulating this thing to be like, look, Dominic still loves you even after everything.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I don't know if it brings people comfort to use a pendulum or whatever. There ain't nothing wrong with it, I don't think. Maybe. I
No,
don't know.
no, I'm not judging them for doing it. I'm giving purely my own personal opinion. I don't think it's a reliable method of contacting a deceased loved one, but that's just me. She also constantly posted to social media documenting her recovery, which fielded even more brand deals and notoriety online. So she's gaining followers, she's gaining online attention, she's getting, starting to make money. And according to Mackenzie's mother, she spent the majority of that time grieving Dominic while she attended physical therapy. And Natalie explained that for months, all she did was lie in her bed, look at the shrine that she made for Dominic, and listen to his music. And maybe she did some of that. But, how genuine is it? Is it, how much was it, made up? I don't know. After Mackenzie attended a concert in her wheelchair, her mother urged her to do something for Halloween. So Mackenzie, along with Rosie and another friend, decided to dress as Playboy Cardi. If you're familiar, I believe Ian's a Cardi fan.
I am, but not like this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
To be clear. Well, I had no idea when I first covered this, like most people.
That the makeup was not just like,
Yeah, I thought they were just
corpsey
dressing as corpses.
clown makeup,
So
yeah.
I didn't clarify in my episode that it was Playboy Cardi, I don't think.
I mean, a lot of artists are doing the whole makeup thing now, or masks thing. It's like all the rage these days is like a creepy mask or creepy makeup. But that's who they were sort of, modeling the makeup after. And of course, to many online, this was seen as poor taste, regardless of the costume's intent behind it. Mackenzie had just killed 2 people, and now she's wearing makeup that closely resembled a corpse. And of course, the media, a lot of the media outlets aren't going to understand, Playboy Cardi or even understand that world at all. So, it quickly becomes like they're discerning the intent themselves versus like actually knowing what it is, doing a little research to be like, oh, that's Playboy Cardi, or even mentioning that, I should say.
I also, and this is just my opinion, I think no matter if they were dressed as fucking Barney, putting any type of Halloween costume and showing yourself going out clearly partying after you just killed 2 people is in poor taste.
Absolutely. I mean, just insensitive, right?
Yeah.
It's not helping your case in
No.
any way, shape, or form. But Mackenzie would not be free to post her antics on social media much longer, though.
Because on November 4th, 2022, Makcenzie Shirilla was being driven by her mom to a physical therapy appointment. And while they were on the way, they were pulled over by a whole fleet of
They brought the
police
squad
vehicles.
out,
Oh,
man.
yeah, they did. This was a big old
They're
scene.
like, oh, this is mean to do this to a little
They were
girl.
like, they just were putting on a show. Anyway, Mackenzie, at that point, was under arrest for the murders of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. And we do have the video. And of course, everybody at the time was stunned. The families of the victims wished it was just an accident. I think a lot of them were really hoping that was the case, but they knew deep down that something was suspicious about the crash from the very beginning. Bubba remembered that day everyone was cheering when they heard the news, and Rosie never thought that they would actually get arrested. Mackenzie was charged with 12 felony counts, including 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felonious assault, 2 counts of vehicular homicide, 1 count of drug possession, and 1 count of possession of criminal tools, with her trial slated for August of 2023. Even though the crime occurred while she was still 17, Mackenzie was going to be tried as an adult. And in Ohio, defendants can opt for a bench trial instead of a jury trial in which a judge solely determines guilt. And in many cases, this leads to a much speedier trial, and Mackenzie may have chosen this because she thought jurors might have preconceived notions of her guilt before the case. I personally think it was a bad decision on her part.
Yeah, I'm really curious what that discussion was like, because you don't see that often. I feel like to just leave it up to a judge rather than to let your attorney try to convince a jury.
Yeah, well, oftentimes you don't have the choice. It's just, this is how it is in Ohio. But
well, I think the thought behind it too is sometimes defense attorneys would be like, well, a judge, it might be less swayed by emotion, and because this is such an emotional case dealing with children, that maybe her attorney was like, if we go in front of a jury, you never know who the jurors are going to be and what, what emotional sort of, points that the prosecutors could push. So maybe they were like, you're going to be cooked in front of a jury. So maybe we can try to make this more about a strictly based on the evidence and like forcing the prosecution to prove the intent. And maybe they're like, I think we have a strong enough case here that they won't be able to prove intent. And if we can kind of remove that emotional aspect of it, because a judge may be generally less emotional when determining outcomes of these cases. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably was their thought process.
Technically, all states allow bench trials, but then most criminal cases don't. So it's like, it's actually quite confusing to find a normal.
Or like type in how many states offer the decision to the person who is being tried.
All 50, but technically it's not like with Ohio where, even if you commit something like this, you can opt for it. In a lot of other states, one of them was even saying in Oklahoma, it's like you're completely cut off from that option for most criminal cases.
Okay, so a lot of states don't give you the option.
Looks like Colorado's one of them, though.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, with that decision, Judge Nancy Margaret Russo would be clear, she has no relation to Dominic, but she was assigned to the case and the trial began on August 7th, 2023. And Mackenzie's defense really rested on two elements. First, in every interview she gave to investigators, she claimed to have no recollection of events directly before or after the accident. Very convenient. This also worked with their second claim that Mackenzie had blacked out due to her POTS diagnosis. Now, POTS, if you've never heard of it, is a condition that makes your heart beat faster than normal when transitioning from sitting down or standing up, especially too quickly. And this can lead to dizziness, spells, and fainting. And Mackenzie's defense argued that she suffered one of these blackouts just before the crash and said she had experienced a fainting spell in the weeks leading up to the accident. However, curiously, they did not provide a medical professional to speak to the veracity of this claim. And all the evidence of her POTS diagnosis and experience was given orally by her counsel and her mother, which was just stupid on their part. I don't know why they did that. Of course, the prosecution focused on the evidence gathered during the investigation, primarily data from the car and digital evidence related to Mackenzie's relationship with Dominic. And for many in the audience, this was actually the first time that they had seen footage of the crash. And as you can imagine, it was just absolutely shocking and devastating to see it playing out. And Davion's mother, Jamie, actually had to go to the bathroom and vomit. And others described the vehicle as a torpedo.
Yeah, it's that shocking. I mean, it's just, it really puts in like hearing somebody driving almost 100 miles per hour down a city street's one thing, but to actually see it in real time and see, see part of the impact, it's
really paints the picture. Yeah. Dom's father was sitting with the Shirillas during the first day of the trial and felt like it was a slap in the face when he learned that Mackenzie did not brake leading up to the crash. I mean, that was information he found out during the trial. Can you imagine? And even though he had offered support to her and her family, he was now certain that Mackenzie had intentionally killed Dominic. And obviously this changed everything for him. However, something that many people just could not wrap their heads around was that if Mackenzie meant to crash the car, that would mean that she was okay with killing herself too. Many pointed to the fact that she was too vain and really in love with herself to even take her own life. However, many also said that she was so unstable in her relationship with Dominic that at the time she likely wasn't even considering her own life and had demonstrated extremely dangerous driving before. And there's also been a lot of discussion about the way that she crashed the vehicle. I mean, they were both on one side. She was on the other side. And which side got the most impact?
Yeah, the passenger side.
Right.
Yeah. Eventually, Mackenzie's mother took the stand to speak on her POTS diagnosis. However, the prosecution absolutely drilled her, asking, why on earth would you have given your daughter a driver's license in the first place if she could pass out behind the wheel? Which is a pretty valid point. If this is a serious medical concern and this happens quite often, then that's obviously something that should be considered before you give her free access to a vehicle where she can just go drive, and potentially endanger the public at any point in time. The prosecution also argued that if Mackenzie had passed out behind the wheel, her foot would have likely eased off of the gas rather than engaging it to 100% as the EDR showed. And I think also maybe there would have been some more, is it possible it could have stayed? If you go unconscious, it's hard to say like what your body's going to do. Could it stiffen up and stay pushed down? But it seems like most likely, even if she had passed out, that there would have been some discrepancy in that acceleration pedal rate at some point. The fact that it stays a flat 100% to me feels like there was force behind that the entire time. They also argued that during the drive up to the building, when Mackenzie was going nearly 100 miles per hour or even 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, I mean, it's still extremely fast down these roads, that she was navigating the roads quite well. I mean, this isn't just like a drag strip. This is a, residential area of a town. And, there's still things that you have to navigate through. And, how could she have done that if she had been truly experiencing a dizzy spell or blackout? I mean, it seems like the most likely scenario was she would have crashed far earlier than getting to the point where she's at 100 miles per hour. Like there's lots of other things along that road that she could have ran into. And yet she stays going straight down this road at a high rate of speed. And then Dominic's mother, Christine, took the stand and provided the court with footage of the fight at Dominic's house. She also provided information on the road rage incident with Dominic and Mackenzie, in which she felt she was threatening his life. They also displayed over 100 photos and videos of Mackenzie driving while high and all of the toxic text messages between her and Dom in the years and months leading up to this horrific crash. And all of this culminated in a picture of Mackenzie that was extremely reckless, volatile, angry, and desperate. But what about Davion? According to the prosecution, Mackenzie just saw him as quote-unquote cargo, and that nothing was going to get in her way of killing Dominic that day.
That was something in the documentary that was really upsetting to hear and watch, was Davion's father talking about how she could have just let him out. You know, that there was no reason.
There
obviously
must
he
have
didn't mean that in
been
a way where anything towards Dominic, but
I mean, if you think about what was happening in the vehicle prior to those final moments, you have to think that Davion, Dominic are communicating to Mackenzie, to stop, slow, let me out. There's
probably trying to take control.
Trying to take control of the car from her. I mean, it's just, and that just speaks to the absolute evil that is Mackenzie, the selfishness that she had in those moments, that she was going to fall through this no matter what.
Yeah,
it didn't matter if there was somebody completely not even involved in her domestic situation in the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly someone who's a friend.
Yeah.
It's just pure evil.
Yeah, and that was also really upsetting to hear Davion's father talk about how much it could give them all some type of closure if she would just explain what was happening in those last minutes, seconds before, if they could have any type of understanding of what was going on in the car beforehand, because they believe that she does remember. Yeah,
and admit and take accountability. No matter how hard it is for Mackenzie, just own up to what you did.
No, she's too fucking selfish. She'll never do that.
But on August 14th, 2023, Judge Russo found Mackenzie guilty on all 12 felony counts, and she delivered this very cutting remark that defined Mackenzie as hell on wheels. Mackenzie then was sentenced days later on August 21st, 2023, and during sentencing, other factors were heard, including her actions after the crash. So we're talking about the Instagram comments, posting herself in that, corpse-like makeup. The judge also heard victim impact statements from family members of Dominic and Davion's. Davion's sister, Divine, called it the worst apology I have ever heard in my life. Because nobody believes you, dude. Like, nobody's going to believe that anything comes out of your mouth is genuine or truthful. I mean, you're somebody who has zero integrity, why on earth would anyone believe this? You're apologizing because you just got sentenced. You're going to prison.
Yep.
You got caught. Mackenzie's mother also offered a panicked and rambled testimony for her daughter.
I love the way that Judge Russo shut her mom down in that instance. That was just awesome. So pathetic.
Yeah, it's like,
just
shut
turned
the
around in
fuck
shame.
up. This is not about you right now.
Yeah.
Well, and you also compare it to like, Davion, who is a teenager speaking to the judge, who's extremely composed and well-spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that just really shows how you should be conducting yourselves in this environment. And then you have Natalie coming up there just flustered and losing her mind.
Yep.
Yeah, the shit she says is wild.
And it's just so telling to how they actually feel. I mean, just no sympathy for anyone else but her.
No, they don't really seem to care.
No,
About
and that's clear from
anyone
this
else
documentary.
involved.
Ugh.
That all they care about is their precious Mackenzie and
Mhm.
making sure she's okay. And they're like, we love you, support you.
Sweetie.
How about some accountability? How about and it's in these cases where it's like, man, some accountability for the parents would go a long way.
I know.
You know?
It's frustrating that there's no accountability for them. I mean, there's some things, but not
But like,
something formal.
yeah, there's like criminally.
Right.
Like if there was a way to alter the law to hold parents accountable for the actions of their children
Mm-hmm.
in these types of cases.
Mm-hmm. Especially if there's evidence to support
Right.
that their lack of action led to it.
Yeah. If you're able to prove that, I guess. But
Mhm.
Mackenzie was sentenced to 2 life sentences to be served concurrently with a non-parole period of 15 years rather than the more severe 30 years she could have gotten. Some of the victims' family members wanted Mackenzie to receive the lighter sentence as they felt they didn't want to ruin a third life as a result of this case. However, others really wanted, concrete value for Mackenzie taking Davion and Dominic's lives. I mean, that's probably where I would be. I would want the most severe punishments, especially since she has not learned a damn thing. I mean, she
No.
all the way up to the very arrest, she's just out there. She doesn't really care. She's just going on with life, trying to capitalize on this sort of, moment of infamy. It's just, I would be pushing for the 30 years just to ensure that, she doesn't get to have this second chance at life. I mean, she's going to get out when she's 30 odd years old and can still have a quote unquote full life and could get married and, live and do all these things. And,
Oh, I hope not. But yeah,
still has a lot of life left to live free is what I'm trying to say. And so when she should be locked up and for 30 years, think about what she did and try to hopefully work on herself.
well, it sounds like it will be at least 30 years. The judge seemed to think she doesn't know if she'll ever get out. I hope that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope that she stays. But I'm just saying there is a possibility she could get out at a time period where she still is able to have a good portion of her life left to live.
She could. Yeah.
After all of this. But in the years since, Mackenzie's family has filed numerous appeals because they'll do whatever they feel like they need to do in order to get Mackenzie out. And they feel like she's been wrongfully accused. She's not a murderer. She's not a killer. And Natalie's even reached out to Kim Kardashian, to take on her daughter's case because she does work with the Innocence Project and stuff, which I'm like, I think there's more important cases for those guys to take a look at than Makcenzie Shirilla. And none of her appeals so far have been successful, despite what her mom says, like, oh, we've got this new groundbreaking evidence that wasn't presented in the original trial, and none of it's worked so far.
And again, to bring up Davion's father and his commentary in the documentary, I found his commentary to be very valuable. And he talked a lot about, how damaging the way that her parents are still parenting her throughout this situation, basically telling her you've done nothing wrong, you've been wronged by the system, and just cheering her on, sweetie, it's going to be okay, just babying her, and how damaging that is to her and her psyche. And I thought that was such a great point.
Yeah, facts, man.
As a result of Netflix documentary on the case, The Crash, there, of course, has been a surge of new interest Most notably, the documentary features Mackenzie's first interview since the trial, which has been very controversial. I think it's really giving her a platform, and I completely disagree with them interviewing her at all. That's just my opinion. But the interview portion, you can tell, is very calculated, as her lawyer was present the entire time, and she still only voiced her innocence, and that although she and Dom had their issues, that she loved him and she wanted to stay together forever, which is, it's so offensive. The evidence is so clear that you murdered them.
Yeah.
How can you? I don't understand. How can she?
Well, and it also gave her an opportunity to be like, it's not my character. I'm not a murderer.
Mhm.
I'm not this monster.
She wants like drill. There was no intent. Okay. Absolutely not.
It was proven in a court of law before a judge that there was intent of homicide here.
With
so,
data.
yeah.
I mean, there's no breaking.
Yeah. Right.
It's just
Exactly.
beyond
There's
me.
pretty concrete proof here that
Very concrete proof. I mean, God. What if the biggest problem with supplements is not what's in them? It's whether or not your body can actually absorb them. Most people assume that if you're taking supplements every day that you are getting all of the benefits. But the reality is the vast majority of supplements out there have an incredibly low absorption rate, which means a lot of what you're taking isn't actually doing anything for you, that you're essentially wasting a lot of money on it. So the absorption company is focused on solving that exact problem with pharmaceutical-grade absorption technology designed to help nutrients actually work. Because no matter how powerful a supplement is on paper, it only matters if your body can actually absorb it, right? The absorption company is singularly focused on solving the biggest problem in supplements, and that is low absorption. Most supplements absorb at less than 16%, meaning over 84% of the supplements we take are completely wasted. 77% of Americans take supplements daily. We spend $60 billion a year on supplements. And yet, over 95% of us are still nutrient deficient. The supplements that we're taking every day do not absorb well enough to actually work. And how do they do this? Well, the absorption company uses cutting-edge technologies to make supplements with pharmaceutical-grade absorption, up to 149 times better than standard supplements. Now, magnesium, most of us have heard the amazing benefits of it, and I've been taking magnesium for years, but I haven't always truly felt the benefits. Magnesium supports over 300 bodily functions. It promotes better sleep, better muscle recovery, regulates stress and mood, and much more. But most magnesium absorbs between 4 to 8%, which means over 90% of it is wasted, and you guys, I was pretty shocked to hear that. So that's why I'm excited that I am taking the absorption company's magnesium, because it absorbs 8 times better than standard mag. So you get better sleep, better muscle recovery, etc. And this is something that's really crucial to me these days because as someone with a newborn baby at home, well, I guess he's not really a newborn now, he's about 3 months, but he's still not, sleeping through the night fully yet. So I need all the sleep that I can get when I'm actually sleeping. I guess the quality needs to be top notch. And then also, I am just getting back into weightlifting and I need the muscle recovery benefits as well. So start taking supplements that your body can actually absorb. Go to absorbmore.com and enter code MileHigher at checkout for up to 35% off your first order. That's absorbmore.com and enter MileHigher at checkout for 35% off your first order. And Dominic's family, who has participated in the documentary as well, have been very vocal. They have voiced their distaste for its portrayal of Mackenzie, and they have introduced Dom and Davion's law, which proposes an amendment to Ohio's Son of Sam laws to modernize them so that criminal offenders cannot profit from their crimes via social media. And this is so needed in so many different cases, especially as, we continue to go into the future. It's only going to become more of a problem.
Yeah, which I was just going to elaborate on the Son of Sam laws, because the Son of Sam, aka David Berkowitz, the notorious serial killer, he actually this all started because he was given a publishing deal for his story. It was like $75,000 back when his whole trial, and that was a huge case nationwide. And so he reportedly expressed his desire to give a potential book and film money to his victims, actually. But he actually never legally controlled the funds. So it's really, there was people trying to profit off of his story. A lot of books and things like that were written off of his particular case in 1977. And so it's, it's definitely very, very weird to me that someone who's convicted of especially a violent crime ever has the opportunity to somehow monetarily benefit off of their story.
Dominic's family has also spoken out against certain elements of the Netflix documentary, specifically his sister, Christine, who seems awesome to me. When she was asked how she would like her brother to be remembered, she responded that she didn't want him to be remembered as someone who was killed by an 80-pound whack job. Word. And she wants people to instead focus on how great of an uncle he was and that everyone called Dominic their best friend. Here's Christine speaking to TMZ about the newfound attention the documentary has brought to Mackenzie and how that's exactly what Mackenzie wanted.
It's absolutely infuriating. It's exactly what she's always wanted. She's laid in, the second after she killed my brother and Davion, within hours of killing 2 young men, she laid in a hospital bed making TikToks and trying to get modeling gigs on Instagram. That's all she's ever cared about. So it is infuriating that this did so well because she has exactly what she wants. And that's where the petition that I just started to modernize the Son of Sam's law, the Dom and Davion's law, I'm trying to make it so that she cannot profit off of my brother's and Davion's murder, and people like her can't profit. Violent criminals shouldn't be able to profit through social media, donations, interviews, GoFundMe's, loopholes, things of the sort. Son of Sam's law needs to be modernized. Things need change with the digital era. It needs updated. She has found loopholes already. She's loving every second of the attention that she's getting.
Christine, tell us about the loopholes that you believe she's found. I know she was interviewed for the crash for the documentary. I haven't seen anything that she was paid for that. But what are there other loopholes, as you put it, that you think she's found?
There's donation sites. I'm not sure the sites. I know it's not a GoFundMe, but it's one of them platforms where they've raked in thousands of dollars taking in donations for her right now. There's also...
What do they say those donations are for? Is it for her legal defense?
I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but she's getting the funds. And I've also spoke to people that she was in prison with, and she's living a completely lavish lifestyle, and they're funded by these people that, she's gotten the attention from the case.
And here's Christine talking about the first time that she met Mackenzie, what the response will be if she's released, and also how Mackenzie's parents are also benefiting from the documentary.
Tank top on, belly all out, super trashy. Just to go and meet your boyfriend's family for the first time. She didn't say hi to me. She didn't introduce herself. Didn't even make eye contact with me, and was just kind of throwing herself at Dom. That's like the first time I met her. If she ever does get out, let's say she's paroled in 20 years, right? The internet's gonna go crazy for her. It'll be all over headlines. And I know how easy it is, what she's going to be seeking, the attention that she's going to be seeking, and how easy it's going to be for her to get Instagram famous, or, whatever, what she's always wanted. With the Son of Sam's law as well, we're looking to modernize the Son of Sam's, try to prevent loopholes, her from benefiting with loopholes, like the family benefiting, also. Right now, there are no laws preventing her family from profiting off of this and then sending her the money. You know what I'm saying? So we're just looking into certain loopholes like that as well. Once Dom and Kenzie started dating, Kenzie basically took Dom. Everything was about her family. He started going there for holidays. As soon as she started coming around, he was off. Like I said, I thought it was an accident for a little bit. It's not something your mind jumps to. When your brother passes away, you wouldn't believe in a million years Like, I still think it's a nightmare. I wake up like, this can't be real life. There's no way. It was disgusting to see the parents of somebody who murdered my brother, even if it was an accident, which it was not, what they say and how they talk about him, even the interviews that they're doing now, I can't wrap my brain around it.
Here she is again, discussing Dominic's final text to his father, saying, "I love you," as many people have pointed to this, and said that he must have known that something was going to happen that evening.
Piece of misinformation, or that people, went left with, was Dominic texted my dad at 2:53 in the morning, "I love you." Everybody was like, oh, that was suggestive that he, knew this was going to happen, or that he had something to do with it. Completely left. I want everybody to know that my father texts all of his 7 children, "I love yous," all the time, randomly, and that's something that we do back. So it wasn't that was Dominic knew this was going to happen, or it was some type of piece of evidence. That it was just, and it's not uncommon. We do it all the time. So stuff like that.
Davion's family has been awesome. They created a scholarship fund in his name that provides a full ride scholarship to one student each year to attend barber school, which is really cool. And the family hopes to have enough money to open a shop and school in his name.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Meanwhile, on the other side of things, due to their participation in the documentary, Mackenzie's father's repeated belief in her innocence, and I think also just because of the bizarre way that he was acting and just like doubling down on everything and acting so casual about it. It was just disgusting the way he was acting. So he was asked to leave the school where he had worked as an art teacher. He lost his job over this. Numerous release jail calls between Mackenzie and her mother show that the family is not interested in disciplining their daughter.
Mackenzie, it's on the Today Show.
What?
Girl, I'm telling you, they're about to get ready for the biggest plot twist of the century, right?
What? What did they say about me?
No, it's not on the TV. It's just online, and they're just reposting the story, but that's okay. That's okay, right? That's all right. Plot twist, right? That's okay. Write your book. Start writing your book. You hear what I'm saying?
Now, Mackenzie, of course, has not stopped her behavior. Not shocking. Former jailmates, including an ex-girlfriend, alleged that Mackenzie laughs at her nickname in jail, which is Shirilla the Killer. And she has just shown absolutely no remorse for her actions. And according to one person, Mackenzie privately admitted to the murder.
That's really interesting because I had a feeling that she's going to tell somebody while she's in there.
Probably.
And hopefully we can get some recordings. She does it. She gets really sloppy one day and just comes out and says it to somebody where it's recorded.
Despite professing her innocence, Mackenzie has been involved in over 30 disciplinary actions while incarcerated. And think about how long has she been in there? Almost 3 years? Going on 3 years? 30 disciplinary actions, like an average of about 10 a year. Pretty insane. And these range from speaking during count to sexual activities with other inmates while on video calls with unauthorized individuals and sexual harassment of prison guards. She was also disciplined for altering her prison uniforms by cutting them into more revealing patterns, allegedly revealing her breasts. In one phone call with her mother, Mackenzie swore about being bored in prison, and she doubted she would be able to get any sort of job while in prison due to the severity of her charges and various disciplinary actions. However, we just learned, days ago, in June of 2026, that Mackenzie did land a job while in the Ohio Reformatory for Women as a food service worker. And while it's unknown how much Mackenzie will make in that role, Ohio inmates typically only make around $24 a month while in prison. Makcenzie Shirilla will be eligible for parole in 2037. However, it does seem unlikely that she will receive it then or by then if her behavior remains the same. And I hope she just continues to act a fool and stays in there for the rest of her life.
I think I would hope that anybody on a parole board would be able to take that all into consideration and come to the conclusion that this person has not taken any accountability for her actions, has not attempted to rehabilitate herself. I mean, I would argue she's still a danger to society.
Oh yeah.
If she's released from prison, I have a good chance she's going to go out and be reckless and crazy and commit further crimes. If she's never ultimately held accountable. I mean, the prison she's in is interesting because it's, they have different classifications for prisoners, but I'm curious as to, what part of that prison she's in, what types of inmates is she in? It seems like she's kind of in more of a minimum level portion of it where she's, it's much more lax. And I don't know, from what I was reading about the prison, it's kind of, compared to other prisons out there, it's kind of a nice one in some ways. And, there's opportunities for a lot of these women to do other things. And if you're if you're in prison and you're, doing the right things, and, I think that's great. But for somebody like her, I'm like, maybe we need to step it up. Maybe the punishment needs to step up a little bit so that things get a little bit harder. It seems like just no matter what. And I think ultimately it comes down to, when she calls home to mommy and daddy are like, oh, baby, we're working so hard to get you out, and just reinforcing this idea in her head that like, you're not a monster. You're not a murderer. You didn't do anything wrong. This was all an accident. It's just an accident. There's no ill intention behind it. And so this is really cruel and unfair what they've done to you. It's just it's a horrible way to be. I mean, it's time to take accountability. And
I mean, God, what blinders would you have to have on as parents to see all that evidence play out in court
and they would
still
say
be
in the doc when her dad was like, what if this was your kid? They try to pass that to be like, look at it from my perspective. If your kid did this, how would you feel? How would you do it? And honestly, from my perspective, if my kid did something like this and all this evidence came out that they murdered these people, and I would be like, I will always love my kid. I'll always be there for them, but they murdered somebody, and I believe in accountability, and I believe in the only way for people to grow is to take accountability for their actions so that they can then build from someplace. If you just fill their head with lies and all of the, all this bullshit, they're never going to learn. They're never going to change, especially if your child has an opportunity to parole and come out and rejoin your family.
in society. Yeah.
Wouldn't you want them to come out and not make the same mistakes twice and not potentially end up, I mean, the reoffend, I'm trying to think of the correct term, but the rate at which people reoffend after they get out of prison is extremely high after spending, and a lot of people who maybe aren't necessarily criminals going into prison, they come out of prison and they're, in a really tough place because prison's rough and, you're surrounded by criminals all day. It changes you. And so you have to really be committed to rehabilitating yourself and taking accountability. Otherwise, the chances of you ending up back in prison for something similar or different are extremely high. So
yeah, I agree. When he said, if this was your child, I was like, can you imagine seeing that as Dominic and Davion's parents? Imagine if this was your child. Imagine if as another parent to parent, you don't have any sympathy for what they're going through. You don't have any ounce of there should be accountability for their murders. They're very clear murders. You can't put yourself in their shoes. It's just disgusting, these two. Horrible parents. Just terrible situation. It's so depressing. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
I would just say, even this might be a little far off base, but I can't ignore the level at which social media plays such a huge role. Not only just in how Mackenzie benefits off of all of this, of course, but even just in what propelled her to do it. I think this is someone who lived her life primarily online and saw the reactions to her more insane actions that she recorded. And only received nothing but praise from the people around her, not only her parents, but also in her following counts going up. I mean, if you're getting this much positive attention for doing bad things outside of your parents, I don't think there's any way it could get through in her head. Like, what do you mean what I did was bad? All these people online are telling me what I did was great.
Right.
And I think that's like broken her brain. And you can even, it's down to the Playboy Cardi thing. Like, it doesn't matter that she was doing it as part of a TikTok trend, which it was. It's still like any normal person wouldn't have even attempted that because because they would know like this is completely insensitive. Exactly what you guys were saying. I think like her brain has been broken by a life mainly lived online.
Yeah, that's so true. And even is it Rosie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she in the documentary as well was talking about there was a moment in court where they played a TikTok trend of Mackenzie singing to a Marina, or not singing, but like posting pictures to a Marina in the Diamond song. And how the lyrics are like, I'm sweet as pie. I'm old. I don't know it.
It's, let me look
But
it
like
up.
something, just like really distasteful lyrics for the situation.
I am utterly terrified to become a teen parent, though. Like it's just all around and from all their perspectives, and just looking at this whole situation, Davion's parents, and just like navigating that part of your child's lives,
dude.
where just things can change so quickly, and the people that your children are hanging out with, how like critical that is to what can unfold and what they become exposed to, and life choices that are made that are possibly permanent decisions. That it's a terrifying thing to think about.
It is.
And it seems like anybody I talk to they're like, just get ready. It's like, it's the most you thought having toddlers was hard. I've missed those days. It's like you're dealing with children that believe they're adults without all the adult experience and knowledge, going out into the world, making big life altering decisions potentially without really understanding the repercussions of those decisions. And it's just, and by the time you get to that point as a parent, like you're farther removed from your own time as a teen, that I feel like it becomes even harder to sort of go back to that place and be like, well, what was it like for me? And what was what did I like about the way that my parents parented me versus the way that I thought they should have parented me? And so it's a challenging time, and it's like, you don't want to be overreaching and controlling to where your kids just do it anyway and rebel. And it's like, it's just such a tricky thing. And every kid's different in the way that they, sort of have a relationship with you. And it's just, it further complicates everything,
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful that, at least for right now, you and I guess not me as much. There's a lot I still don't understand, like Discord and certain apps, Snapchat. But like, we understand social media enough.
Better than probably most of our friends who have kids.
Yeah.
From some, and just from doing, true crime podcasts for so long. I mean, and seeing so many cases unfold and understanding the ramifications of what social media can have on the psyche and how it affects, potential crimes that occur and things like. I think we have a leg up in that way, and but
it's about staying informed on it all and being educated about platforms you let your kid on, whether or not you even do let them. I mean, the UK just banned social media for kids under the age of 16. Obviously, Mackenzie was 17. But yeah,
which people would be like, that is completely insane and
some
overreaching.
people may argue that. I don't know. I personally support it. But Janelle and I went to, I think I mentioned this last week potentially, but Janelle and I went to a seminar on the dangers of social media for teens in the crime world specifically, and it rocked me. I mean, it's terrifying. So terrifying.
But at the end of the day, as the parent, you are in control. As long as that child lives in your house and you are, supplying, food, shelter, and all of these essentials, and especially in the formidable teenage years, you have to, it's consistency. It's starting young. It's setting the foundation so that when you get to those teenage years, you're not all of a sudden coming out of nowhere and your teen is like, whoa, mom and dad, what's going on here? Why are you like, it's all of the years of parenting that come before those later teenage years that I think are so critically important. And in this case, it is so clear that Mackenzie did not have the parenting that she needed to get to a point in her life where she was ready to be a productive, responsible adult that and a decent human being.
Yeah, I mean,
the very basic principles of just being a good person, those were not instilled in her. And at the end of the day, I put a ton of liability and blame on the parents because this to me was very avoidable in so many different ways, both on Mackenzie's part and on her parents' part. And the fact that they refuse to acknowledge that at all is sickening to me.
Even after all this, yeah, that's just, yeah. And like what Ian was saying, I think so many young people right now have just become,
and their brains
like,
are broken
TikTok
because
brained,
of
it's
these
just,
stupid...
they're like, oh, it was a trend. And that's back to what I was saying with the Marina and the Diamond song. And they played this in court and, Rosie was defending it, being like, that's just a trend. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a trend.
Well, and it's just this like make-believe world that's now popped up with like the influencer life and, this is the way to make money and here's what you have to do. Be as crazy online as possible.
And it's not just for money. It's for attention, for validation, many things.
Bad publicity is good publicity.
Yep.
It's like, it doesn't matter the hate that I get online.
Teenagers
it's more followers,
are
it's more money.
Learn
and so
that young.
It's just, it's sad. I mean,
It
this
is
whole
very
thing is
sad.
sad at the end of the day. And, I just want to extend my heartfelt, condolences and just, I truly
Support
and can't even begin to understand what any of these parents have gone through of Davion and Dominic. And, I just, I hope that, everyone is, finding some ways to cope and begin to just deal with the horrible thing that happened. And I commend all of you for your courage and bravery throughout all of this and speaking, publicly about this in such a way that I think it's inspiring to hear, all of their perspectives, and I'm just saying that from parent to parent of like, that to me really stuck with me of like hearing another parent talk about their experiences going through something like this and trying to take something from that to hold on to and, potentially put in my toolkit one day of like, or even as like a memory that I can go back to when things do inevitably get tough, as a teenage parent of like, it's something that we'll have to prepare for when we get there. But
I'm really grateful for them speaking out the way that they have and sharing their stories and pain with all of us. Because like Josh said, I feel like I've learned some things from this tragedy.
Absolutely. In more ways than one.
Well, guys, we have a few links for you in the description box and show notes of this episode. Please sign the petition for Dom's Law. That will be linked below. Also, you can donate to Change the Game for Dom Foundation.
But we appreciate you all for being here. And that's going to be it for us today. We'll see you guys next week with another one. Take care.